Today we're going to be rebuilding a rheostat switch for a 1969 Volvo p1800. If you're familiar with these switches, they have a tendency to corrode. Mine's corroded and it wasn't hooked up, so I had nothing to lose. Wanted to take it apart, see if I could refurbish it. Closer inspection, it didn't look too difficult, and I'll walk you through the process. So first of all, remove it from the dash. If you've already removed it from the dash, you've probably already done this, but the most difficult part of this whole thing is probably getting out the end cap without destroying anything. Mine's already cut here, so I really can't damage it any more than it already is, I'm sure. Pry this out. I'm sure there's an easier way to do that, but so take the cap out, use a screwdriver. Mine happens to be a Phillips screw. I don't know whether it's original or not. But remove the end knob, set those aside, and don't lose the parts. And then you'll see that I have it rubber banded together, obviously, because I've already taken it apart in order to make this video. I used my Dremel tool to grind away the heads off of these 4 copper rivets, one in each corner, that hold the switch together. So upon doing that, voila, we'll get into the guts of it. Top comes off, take it apart carefully, as there's a very small delicate spring in here that you don't want shooting off onto the floor. See this spring, so you'll set that aside. See here, and now you can see, I'll have copper rivet here. Now you can see the bottom of the switch, or rheostat, I guess it's not technically a switch, has one of these little doodads keeping this washer, I don't really know how to describe it, but keeping this piece to the shaft of the dial, I guess you could call it. So pry that off and set that aside, don't lose it, and you'll see the shaft falls right out. And then we have this piece here, which forms the stay, I guess you could call it, for the top. It's a limiting device. As this turns, the end flange hits this little embossed piece and prevents it from turning anymore. So it goes from one limit to the other. What I did was, obviously this is nice and shiny. I cleaned this up with my Dremel tool and polished it. Set that aside. I polished this area as well as the entire bottom surface of the dial. Basically anything that's metal in here that's corroded, you want to polish. I used, on my Dremel, I used this, gosh, I don't even know what to call it, a nylon brush of sorts tool, and I used some Mother's chrome polish. And basically I put the Mother's chrome polish in here along the spring. It's not really a spring, but a coil of metal, and polish the coil of the metal. Then the next thing to come out is a matching copper washer part. It's very similar to the one that goes on top. This one's made of some sort of steel, and this one's obviously copper, so this brushes up nicely. This was very heavily corroded in green, top and bottom on mine, so I went ahead and polished it. Polished basically these 2 contact points here and here, and this entire ring. I don't know if you can see this inner metal ring connects to this one copper rivet, and the other one is connected on a variable dial by this other copper washer. So you can kind of see how the thing works, and getting it apart is not difficult. I think the hardest part is taking off this piece. Obviously I have a broken tab on the bottom here, which I'm not really sure how to resolve that, as the other end is a rivet, and going to the hardware store I couldn't find the correct rivets, so I didn't really want to get into that. So basically I left it as is. I'm probably going to solder a piece of wire onto each head, the head on each rivet, and just use some sort of connector piece in the future. I don't really have the tools to make it 100% original again, but I'm going to make it serviceable by using, instead of copper rivets again, I'm going to use these small machine screws with nylock nut on the end is all I could find as well. So hopefully by walking you through this process and seeing how it comes apart, you'll be less intimidated about taking it apart yourself and refurbishing it, as really it's just a matter of getting access to the innards and polishing them up so that the contacts are clean again. And there you have it.